In 2017, Pepsi released an online ad that has been dubbed one of the worst adverts ever to be made and was taken down within 24 hours of its debut. Not only was this advert racially insensitive, but it was just a shockingly bad advert. With very few visuals of their product and no storyline, there was nothing this ad did well. There is one thing an advert has to do: sell. And the key way to sell is to tell a story and make the customer buy into that story. Pepsi truly failed with this ad, however. It opens with a man passionately playing the cello on a roof. Why? We don't overly know, but he's doing it and he seems to be enjoying himself. We then jump to a protest on the street, but what's being protested is incredibly ambiguous, with the most emotive of the signs reading, "Join the conversation." We then cut to a Muslim woman drawing, followed by Kendall Jenner in what appears to be a photo shoot. Not only is it incredibly unclear what or who the advert is for, these characters and the storyline don't make sense in relation to a protest at all. The visual material of this advert meant there was no storyline, and subsequently the advert failed to do its one main job: sell. This advert, after 2.5 minutes, only leaves the audience confused by the clear box ticking of the multicultural cast and the cheap pull focuses to the Pepsi cans. Making the cast so clearly diverse but with only flashes of them made the message of inclusivity fleeting. The quick glimpses of all the cultures and communities felt almost compulsory. Smirnoff's Labels Are for Bottles Not People campaign in 2017 had a very similar idea, where they had a huge cast from all walks of life, but they introduced the characters, built a story and created something approachable and relevant, whereas Pepsi managed to make it feel like a bit of a circus. Not only did they make the communities come across as a bit of a joke, they were basically agreeing with white saviorism, whereby all of these people had gotten themselves into this protest and they needed a white person to come along and save the day. Although I'm sure this isn't the message Pepsi were trying to convey, this is what their visual material showed, and therefore it clearly failed them. The main problem with this advert, however, was its ending. Kendall Jenner, now in full swing with the protesters, finds herself at the front of the protest, in front of a police barricade. She walks up to the police officer, passes him a Pepsi, he takes a sip and the crowd cheer. Meaning the privileged white model has become the sole peacekeeper between protest activists and the police. Nearly any other scenario would have looked better than this. Not only have they had Kendall throw her no longer needed wig at the black woman who worked for her without a word or an acknowledgement, they're now having her swoop in and save the day by facing a police barricade armed with a Pepsi. This doesn't exactly paint the right picture for an advert preaching inclusivity. However, I can see what Pepsi were trying to do. In a time of civil unrest, they tried to make an advert showing how simple it can be to get along. Much like during the Vietnam War, Pepsi's main competitor Coca-Cola created an advert where everyone from around the world gathered together and literally harmonised with the song "I'd Like to Buy the World a Coke." Nearly every shot in this advert was poor. Pepsi clearly wanted to make a powerful advert, but when it came down to it, they were too scared to produce one. The protest signs were incredibly PG, with zero commitment to a cause. And while Pepsi may have taken inspiration from the likes of Isha Evans, at the end of the day the advert ended up making a mockery of the resist movement. Isha Evans was met with an arrest, whilst Kendall Jenner was met with applause, laughter and zero violence. The shot of Kendall and the police was a clear nod at the iconic picture of the flower protest, and I can see why the commissioner allowed for this to happen. In theory it's a great advert, but Pepsi not even committing to what the protest was in aid of was a huge mistake. If you take out the crowd cheering and maybe even make the protest signs relevant to at least one cause, this advert could have been seen as something other than a joke. This ad has sparked many conversations and caught the attention of many influential people, including Bernice King, who tweeted a photo of her late father, civil rights leader Martin Luther King, with the caption, "If only Daddy would have known about the power of a Pepsi." As well as all of this, the most basic problem I had with this advert is that other than a couple of cheap pull focuses, there was hardly any Pepsi in the advert. Why didn't everyone in the crowd have a Pepsi? Why wasn't Kendall Jenner handing them out to everyone, and it then dawned on her to include the police officers, because we are all human beings after all? It feels as though no actual thought went into this advert. There are so many ways Pepsi could have made this advert far better than it was. They could have had something as simple as Kendall Jenner at a shoot and offered to buy everyone who was working there a Pepsi, even though they were all from different communities and cultures. There could have been an actual storyline with the musician and the photographer. Frankly, there could have been a Pepsi. Or they could have at least tried to tackle an actual issue for the protest. I can understand how this advert got made. On paper, it was perfect, a relevant storyline that their demographic was active in, a way to have many cultures and communities coming together, a celebrity of whom could and would actually drink the product, and who was influential and popular with their target audience, and then a seemingly happy ending. Ultimately, the failure of this advert was solely the visual material. A good idea was portrayed badly, meaning it ended up insensitive, destructive, and unfortunately only trivialised demonstrations aimed at tackling social justice causes. But at least Kendall Jenner restored peace and justice to America with a Pepsi.